Hello, everyone. This is my first YouTube show, and I'm so happy to be here. Welcome to the very first episode of my YouTube series, diving into all things real estate, specifically new development and market trends. I'm Cindy Gokay, a real estate expert with 20 years of experience. I specialize in new developments for the past 7 years, where I led and trained sales teams and built a deep understanding of how foreign capital flows into the New York City real estate market. And in the recent light of events, the controversy over the newly proposed golden visa, the EB-5, I have an expert here with me, Marko Issever, who is the true expert in EB-5. And he's here to tell us about what EB-5 is versus the golden visa, what are the differentiations of both programs. But first things first, Marko, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Cindy. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to address your viewers, listeners, and everybody else.
Thank you so much. Is there anything I missed? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience and how you built the EB-5 company?
It's a second career for me. I am a Wall Street veteran. I like to call myself a Wall Street veteran. I've been in Wall Street over 30 years. I used to run the sales desk globally of Bank of New York's derivative department. Before that, I was one of the founding of the Japanese subsidiary we called Sakura Global Capital, merged with Sumitomo, still in existence as Sumitomo Mitsui. Mortgage-backed securities. I did CMOs and all sorts of different things in prudential securities. So it's amazing that though I call myself a Wall Street veteran, shame on me and all my friends up until 2014, 15. I had no idea what EB-5 was. You introduced me as the expert, which very kind of you, but I am a very recent expert. I am an expert in derivatives. You can ask me anything about interest rate derivatives, but the EB-5 is something I picked up, and it's really by, I would say, coincidence. There was tremendous amount of retrogression. The market was the Chinese market. Investors, the migration agents, everything about the EB-5 till I would say 2013, 14 was Chinese, except the developers because they needed to invest in the US. Even though the quota for visas are 10,000, which basically corresponds to 2,500 to 3,000 families they were getting back then, maybe 5,000, 10,000, maybe even more applicants, investors. So what that made is they immediately hit their quotas, and the processing them went into 10 years, 15 years. They were getting approved their EB-5, which is called 526, but they wouldn't be able to get a visa. So you had this whole ecosystem of EB-5 market with the real estate developers, migration agents, lawyers, immigration lawyers, no customers. There are no investors, no applicants. So that's when I kind of got into this. I was actually in a meeting with one of the large real estate developers in the city. In fact, in the middle of the meeting, he said, "Why don't you raise EB-5 for us?" As your viewers might see from my last name, is Issever. I'm Turkish. So he said, "Why don't you see if you can raise some EB-5 for us in Turkey?" And that's how I jumped in. We have clients from all the world. And funny, because we got into business because the Chinese exited. But then 3 years ago, there was a new law passed, which called the Reform and Integrity Act of 2022, to bring back the Chinese.
That is how we also started with a project, the introduction to my developer today, who wanted to introduce an EB-5 component. How many years ago was that? Wow.
Pretty much 10 years. I mean, maybe 8 to 10 years, 2016, definitely not like...
That's how we got introduced, and it was a great start to our relationship in terms of bringing an EB-5 component to the new construction. With that being said, some of the viewers that are watching this may not know what EB-5 is, or there are many misconceptions about the investment and whether that investment goes directly to the developer or whether or not that investment goes towards the purchase of an apartment. There's so many different layers to it. Can you explain to us how EB-5 works?
Thank you. That's a great question, and it's essential that investors understand what it is, because just about every other country's citizenship program differs from in the United States. So that's why there is this misconception. Investors are not investing in the purchase of a real estate. And I'll tell you why. Because first of all, in EB-5, strictly speaking, if you check the law, it doesn't have to be real estate. The law says that the investor directly or indirectly is supposed to create 10 jobs. So he could have a factory in widgets and selling, he can employ 10 Americans or people who have a work permit, like green card holder, and 10 people who can work in the United States. Then he will be eligible to get the green EB-5 as long as he makes the required investment. The required investment today is called targeted employment as $800,000, and for urban areas, $1,050,000. Going back to your question, in terms of the real estate, they're not money on real estate. They are actually participating in the capital structure of the project. A typical project is going to have a senior loan, maybe 60% of the financing. 20% will be what we call this, the EB-5 mezz debt or something like that. And then 20% would be, developer's equity. So that's an average deal that has more than 60% debt is, in our view, over leveraged. A deal where the developer has less than 20% equity, doesn't have enough skin in the game. The two things that we do look at: the more developer, the more we like the deal. When you think about it, if that is because the EB-5 financing is so much cheaper than other financing, then fine. But if it is because the developer couldn't really get anybody professional to lend them money, and the only way they can finance this project is through EB-5 and some of their own money, then that doesn't sound that good. So when a EB-5 is in the senior position, we don't immediately give a check mark. We used to give X before, but in other words, we never took a deal to senior loan because we said if a professional investor goes for an LTV, loan to value ratio, let's say 60%, it's good enough for EB-5 to go for 70%. But if nobody's there, even if we're at the top, we're not going to touch that deal. Nowadays, last year and a half, since rates have become high, they're coming down now, but comparatively speaking, when we started the EB-5 rates are much higher, we can see why developers are opting for EB-5 to be in senior position rather than having a deal with a senior loan and EB-5.
And there's another misconception. How long does the process take from to finish? I mean, it's not like you're just going to put in these funds and immediately think that you're going to be getting a green card, right? How does that process work?
Okay, so I want to answer it in two stages. One, before the Reform and Integrity Act passed, whether an investor, an applicant was in the or outside the United States, it didn't make any difference. So it was the same. So they used to come to us and say, once we make this investment, or at least once we make application, can we jump on a plane and come to the United States? So the answer was, of course, no. You have to have a visa. Well, the application EB-5 is an application for the visa. Isn't that enough? No, it's not enough. So that was the misconception. But the misconception carried even further in the sense that once that visa, once that EB-5, meaning the 526, is approved, can I then get in the plane and come to the United States? And the answer was no, right? Because once the 526 is approved, now you have I'm talking about before the law, right? I have to explain that even if it is today. The background is important. So once your 526 is approved, then you go to the consulate or embassy with your approval, and then you can get a green card stamped on your passport, and then you come here and then receive your physical green card. That was that. Now, with the new law, something amazing happened, which, just to give you an idea, students, mostly Chinese, workers here with H-1B visa, the concept of concurrent filing. So the new law that passed is allowing investors to do concurrent filing. What does it mean? What it means is that if they are in the United States with a non-immigrant visa, they can not only apply for the EB-5 the way they used to apply before the law passed, but together with that, now they can apply for adjustment of status, which is a fancy way of saying applying for the green card. and then at the same time work permit and travel permit. So 4 applications at the same time. Now, why is that important? It's important because when a person here, a student or a H-1B, worker, business, like EB-5, they're doing it for 2 reasons: to be here. Like, in other words, once they graduate, they want to be able to live here, work here. And the second thing is they want to be able to freely travel back and forth. So once they get the travel permit and the work permit, I mean, what benefit is the green card? So to answer people who are here, they can within months work permit and within months travel permit. And then the benefit of the filing of the 526 and the green card is that they don't have to be approved so that they can apply for the green card. They already applied for the green card. So many times you'll see a situation where when the 526 is approved, they can actually get the green card because it's like they're moving, the 2 applications are moving at the same time. If they're from overseas, say China, India, Turkey, wherever, if they're applying from overseas, things have not changed. In time to get a green card today, much better than the COVID period. The way it used to be probably in 2017, between 9 months and the months, you should be able to get the green card.
This also gives us a perfect transition into our next subject, the background of EB-5, the Golden Visa. What that means, the investment for the Golden Visa is significantly more. Since that, first of all, what is Golden Visa? And then the next question is going to be, since the investment for the Golden Visa is significantly more, are you seeing an increase for EB-5 currently? Start with, what is the Golden Visa program?
Okay. The Golden Visa program, as I want to say, because it was now, 2 weeks ago? It was announced by now, you have the details, almost no details. What we know about it is that it's not an investment program. It's a donation program. And there are donation programs, by the way. It's not like uncommon. You got it in Grenada, 5 million numbers. There are Caribbean countries definitely have it. Malta has it, I believe. So it's always an alternative. In other countries, you could make a real estate investment, or you can make a donation to the government and you can get this path. Here, the $5 million version, the Golden Visa, is a donation. What privileges does it bring with it? First, it gives you residency rights, but again, that's where details are missing. It's supposed to be a quick path to the American citizenship. Now, what's that quick mean? I don't know. It can mean months, it can mean a year. In the EB-5 case, once you get your green card, you have to wait for 5 years to be eligible to become a citizen. Here, I'm assuming it's going to be much less than 5 years after you get your golden visa. Now, what are the advantages? The advantages of the golden visa, at least 3 advantages compared with EB-5. The one at the top of the list, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that the person will be exempt from global tax. Now, why is this huge? Why is this huge? This is huge because, think about it, they don't live here, so they're making money here. They make money in wherever they are, in whichever country they are. So by getting this card, they are going to be able to continue making their money there and don't pay any taxes in here. So if they were to do it to a regular citizenship program, the lifetime taxes that they would have to pay, the PV of that, for these ultra high net worth individuals, I gotta believe is way higher than $5 million. So you're basically prepaying the taxes that you would have paid throughout your life, and you get this card. Now, in EB-5, while talking about the golden, if we start comparing with the EB-5, that's a huge deterrent. That's why the principal breadwinner almost never does the EB-5. If they're doing it for their child, only the child goes, and then they give the money to him or her. If they're more than one, because EB-5 is a family thing, then one parent accompanies the children who are younger than 21 unmarried, But again, the breadwinner, the guy who has a bank account, never really does this. So maybe you could see a situation now, they will pay the $5 million, they will join their family, right? Because for them, the PV of their future taxes is, you could see a situation where the guy's running his booking center in Cayman Islands, buying widgets in China, selling them in Africa, and living in the United States, right? So he pays no tax because he's in a tax haven jurisdiction. His company is in Cayman Islands or Virgin Islands, and he's buying in one jurisdiction and he's selling in another jurisdiction. He's not really touching the United States. So it's a huge advantage. The second thing is the residency requirement. The way we understand is that the gold card is not going to have a residency requirement. We're talking as if I'm a lawyer. I should have said that in the beginning, in the middle, and anything I say here should be checked with an immigration attorney because I'm not a licensed immigration attorney. I'm not an attorney. So immigration attorneys tell their applicants who get the green card with the EB-5 that they have to be here at least 6 months out of a year, right? My experience has been it's not really enforced that much. What is enforced is that they can't be outside the United States more than 6 months. But if you look at the strict requirement of the green card, you cannot be outside the United States more than you are inside the United States. So the immigration attorneys will advise their clients so that they should be here most of the time. So these big high net worth individuals who have factories and wherever gold card investors, they don't want that. So the fact that there is no residency requirement is another check. The third advantage, from what I see, again, we didn't read anything, but the source of funds for the golden visa, I have to believe, is going to be a much lighter version than the EB-5, right? Now, there is a lawyer whom I respect tremendously, and I'll make a plug here for him. His name is Ron Klasko. He's one of the top, if not the top lawyer in the immigration business. He recently won a case. I think it's called Batineni versus Mayorkas. In this lawsuit where he sued USCIS, he was able to get a federal judge significantly revise the way we do source of funds. Basically said that USCIS is going way beyond what the law really intended. Because the law said that the source of funds should be legitimate, that it's not arms dealing, it's not dirty money. But USCIS has been going 99%. You know, we joke around that they're going to Adam or Noah, or I got the money from this to the way to Adam Baba, you know, we joke around. But go one step back. And another Zoe versus Noah, where that he won, but in any case was ratified. The judge agreed. And all these judges apparently appointed by Trump administration. EB-5 source of fund going to get a little easier. But even so, the golden visa source of I got to believe it is from the get-go is going to be probably much easier. Those are the reasons why it will be good. Now, will it pass? Maybe that will be your question. Maybe, maybe not. I want to say that he should, at minimum, allow Americans to get a golden visa. Because if he makes it such that a foreigner who wasn't born in this country can have this privileged citizenship status, and yet like a regular U.S. citizen here cannot, if we choose to, that would be a little strange. Like, in other words, the PV of our future outside the United States and pay it and then be done with it. Because many Americans, I would imagine, have businesses outside the United States. And I know for a fact cases where people who are not right now in the United States either have given their green card, their citizenship with tremendous penalty, or are seriously considering because the tax burden they cannot tolerate. So if you cap it at $5 million, that might be very interesting to many people. I think, this is my personal opinion, if you're going to give this to somebody who has absolutely nothing to do with the United States, I think you owe it to your own citizens here. They want to avail themselves from this, at least give it to them as well.
Right. So with that being said, do you think EB-5 is going to go away?
No, because it serves two different people types. First of all, EB-5 investor is not ultra high net worth. I mean, I would, their assets is around $3 to $10 million at the most. Once they're more than $10, $15 million, they can come here. And when it's less than three, they really struggle because they also need money to live because they're putting 800 in here. So EB-5 is a job creation program. So every investor that comes here directly or indirectly is creating jobs. Whereas the gold card, as we just said, a person can continue living wherever he's living. He doesn't have any obligation to create jobs. So they can definitely coexist. What I think, my humble opinion is going to put a lot of pressure for the EB-5 investment amount to go up. Now, by law, capped till September 2027. And by law, it's supposed to go up after that by inflation. So let's say the 5-year inflation, whatever it was from 2022 to 2027, whatever that is, it's supposed to jump by that. So digitally jump in 2027 is supposed to jump. But I guess everybody believes that he can't do this by rulemaking. EB-5 right now came here with the RIA as under Congress, under law. So any changes to it will have to be done with the law. So he needs the Congress support. Without that, he cannot. But, you got a lot, majority in the House, in the Senate. It's possible that he can convince them. The Republicans, wouldn't want to give the Americans the same rights. I said, like it's done such that it doesn't, the who are here. Maybe he can. As far as EB-5, I think it's going to coexist. The night that they announced it, your Commerce didn't have very nice things to say about EB-5 if you listen to it.
Yes, I did.
They softened it. So there's a huge, obviously, constituency here in the real estate and everywhere else. And
components, right? Developers, new development, notable projects have used that component. Don't foresee the EB-5 component really going away.
I don't think it's going away. He thinks it's too cheap. You're giving an American passport for less than $1 million. He thinks that doesn't make any sense. Hard to argue with that. He has a point. So the number might go up, and that's why you asked me, what we're seeing in the marketplace, a double reaction. People who, because of this, are in the sidelines. And Marko Bey in Turkey, they say, Marko Bey, we're going to wait. We're afraid now. But then the others can't do it fast enough. I'm getting calls from people that have been in the pipeline, and projects are selling very fast. So net EB-5 has picked up a lot. Some people have stopped. They just want to see, afraid. Especially because they don't know what's happening with the government. They're afraid that if USCIS starts losing people, am I going to wait another, 3-4 years for my application to be processed? So there is some, but there's also uncertainty about what if, Trump next just puts in there and says EB-5 is going to be now $2 million, and then it passes. Then all of a sudden, in the period, they say it's 2 million now, 2.5 million. So there's that scare, and people who believe that they wait, they're moving very fast.
Okay, Marko, this was incredible, and I think that it's going to be informative to so many who didn't know about EB-5, Golden Visa, the differentiations between the both programs. I think this was a very helpful conversation for them to hear, for me as well. And if they wanted any more information in regards to EB-5, if they wanted to apply for EB-5, wanted to learn about the details and specifics, timelines, etc., where can they reach you?
Can certainly contact me directly. The email is very simple, info@americaeb5visa.com. And our website is essentially www.americaeb5visa.com. And we broadcast there in different languages. You can go to other websites. I strongly recommend eb5investors.com. Incidentally, they rate us all the way on the top. As far as broker dealers, if they go to the broker dealers there, they'll see we have many articles that we have published with them and with others. They can go to the usa.org, which is industry advocate in EB-5. We will be happy to guide them in project due diligence. We work hand in hand with immigration attorneys, where the immigration attorneys file the papers, do the source of funds for the investors, and we support them and guide them in the project selection.
Great. And what I will do is that I will drop Marko's contact information down below with his links so that you can contact him directly. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe. We're going to be discussing all things real estate, whether new construction and anything that applies to real estate you can find here. I'm so happy to have you here. Marko, thank you so much for being here. This was an excellent session, and I'm sure that we've helped a lot of people clear misconceptions that they have in regards to EB-5 and the newly proposed Golden Visa program.